Do you know where the song Moon River comes from?
Oh, see, I was just singing Moon River because somebody posted on Facebook a scene from Fletch when he was getting his prostate
Yeah,
exam.
I couldn't record him singing that because we'd get sued.
Yes. Can we even mention the song? No. So it's from a movie.
Yeah, it's from a famous movie that
Okay.
people know.
Oh, see, this is a quiz.
Oh, Andy's not here.
John's quiz show. Well, we could change it.
It's a it's a much lamer version of Andy's quiz show.
There's only one question.
I have a question for you. Why are you still listening to Time to Lean and Here's the Song? Episode 71, the first episode of Season 8. John and Phil are joined today by Rob K., special guest, emeritus.
I don't know.
That's the only question.
It does sound familiar, but I don't know. Is it a Western?
No, it's called Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh, all right. Breakfast at the Tiffany Corral.
That would be a lot better.
Oh, maybe we shouldn't have started.
I am a Breakfast at Tiffany's denier.
Denier? You don't like it?
I'm not a fan of it. I sort of understand why people like it, but it has some problems. And if you know the movie, it's Audrey Hepburn, one of her big ones.
Right.
And I think George Papard, who's the guy in it, is just lame. And I don't think it's very funny. And it has this awful sequence with her landlord, who's played by Mickey Rooney, playing a Chinese character.
Oh, Jesus.
It's really awful. And I think it was probably kind of awful in the 1960s too, but it is just cringeworthy.
Oh, I think it's known for. I think it made her. I mean, I think she did a good job in it. People.
Well, it's very iconic, that
everyone, everything else sucked in the movie except her.
Yeah, it's really
George Papard.
yeah, he's just kind of limp, and
Yeah,
the movie
he was okay in the A-Team, but that's about it.
I forgot about the A-Team.
How could you forget about the?
He did this movie in the later 60s called The Blue Max, which was
Okay, that sounds familiar.
Favorite of my dad's. It's a World War I flying ace movie.
Okay,
and he's actually good in that one.
Oh, all right.
But he's just kind of bleh. And next to Audrey Hepburn who is so suave and stylish and everything.
It doesn't sound like a good pairing.
I just don't understand why she hangs out with him.
Right, it's just not believable.
It's not a movie I connect with at all. But whatever, it's fine. A lot of people like it. I just have to. I disagree.
I politely disagree. So this might be another episode where we just talk about waiting for a guest while we're waiting for a guest.
Yeah, I did get a message this time from special guest Robert K.
Yeah. And he said, screw you guys.
Yeah, I'm losers. I'm just kidding. That he's coming on in a few minutes.
But then he said he's just kidding.
Do you remember you did a song once called I'm Just Kidding?
Yeah. Have we ever put that on here?
No, we haven't recycled that one.
Oh, we could put it on here.
I'm not sure we want to. Maybe we could remake it, though.
I'll listen to it and see. Well, I went through a phase where I would say something and then I'd say I'm just kidding a lot because sometimes I went through kind of a dry comedy phase or something. I don't know. So
that's the school of comedy where you say something awful and then I'm just kidding. It's a joke.
Yeah, but I wasn't racist or anything.
No, it's not like that. Not like the assholes today. Oh, it was just a joke.
Yeah, this was way before that, and it wasn't.
No. Decades ago.
My! It was. Yeah, I think it was sort of improvised, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So it may not be. Sometimes
I think it has two chords, and
sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. Oh, it's a fuzz.
I can't always remember it. But, so around here, it could be the fuzz. It could also be an ambulance or a fire truck.
I
We have all
suppose.
3 based near me.
They have to have 3 different sirens.
I'm very
though,
well
they?
protected.
They don't have the.
No, see that's what one of them ought to do the European style. I think.
I think they should all have different different
You-
sirens, so you knew.
know.
So if
I
you're
guess
recording a podcast, you could tell the difference.
I think some people probably do know the difference.
No,
I'm not up on that.
some people are on their radio scan or their police scanners all night.
Gonna fire up the Bearcat.
Got to see what's
Is
what
that still a
crimes
thing?
going on.
Can you still listen in on the police radios?
People talk about it on our neighborhood page sometimes.
Of course they do.
Because somebody will be like, oh, what was that noise? And then I say, well, nothing's on the police scanner. So I don't know.
It's kind of amazing they can still. First of all, that you can just buy a radio and listen, but that it's not, I don't know, encrypted, or you can just get a radio that picks it up. It's
maybe
shouldn't they have better security than that?
Maybe the police put out like a fake thing to distract
It's just a loop
robbers.
that talks about exciting things.
Actually, though, I do remember. I do. It's a different kind of podcast. Police cast.
False crime podcast.
False crime podcast. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So I remember during the after the aftermath of George Floyd, people were talking about how other people were using the police scanners to see where the police were, and then they were going somewhere else or something. I don't know, to do these little.
So apparently,
micro
in some capacity, it's still a thing.
Maybe, yeah. But why? Yeah, why can't that be? Or why shouldn't it? Maybe Rob would know. Is he on now?
I'm on now.
Oh, he's changed.
Welcome, guest Robbie K.
Turn your mic up, man. Or maybe you're too old. You sound old tonight.
I think I'm just old.
I discovered I had a second prostate this morning.
Speaking of prostates, whatever our old friend Bob Dole.
Oh, yeah, he died.
Terrible. He didn't deserve that.
He didn't deserve to die. He was old.
Well, no, he didn't deserve the awful
fruitful life.
comments.
How does my audio sound?
You sound a little distant.
Yeah, you're a little distant, Rob. Have you heard that before from the ladies? Now turn up the sound.
How many ladies are there?
It's what you call sexy indifference.
There's our title.
Hey, there's the title.
I stole that from Jason Bateman. That's what he talks about that on his podcast.
Oh,
that he does with Will Arnett and
who doesn't have a podcast?
Yeah,
with Will Arnett.
So what's Zencaster? We're not supposed to mention the name of the.
Oh no, it's just this web service I use so I can have multiple people at once without having to do all this stuff. It's a nice tool.
We haven't started recording yet. Oh no, yeah.
No, I am recording.
What?
Yeah.
Remember when the old days where you could do stuff with a bunch of people and not have an app? Boy, we're just mentioning all kinds of names here.
I'll cut that
I think
out.
no,
For
I
real.
don't think. Does it matter?
Well, they aren't giving me money. Why should I mention their brand names?
I don't know. Let's talk about Screwball again.
Get a special
Screwball
HHK
whiskey. Oh, shit.
discount
Screwball.
if you use the promo code HHK.
Yeah, that's right. What are
TTL.
We've been missing something there. Well, welcome, Rob. Long time friend of the show and
I think
infrequent listener.
How often have you been on the show now? Is this the fourth time?
Yes.
Third.
This is the fourth, I think.
May the fourth be with you.
Well,
Well, okay. Well, you're late. So, what are you drinking?
I didn't have time to assemble a cocktail, so I'm just drinking Elijah Craig with ice.
Solid choice. I think that's an appropriate choice, which I'll get to later.
Oh.
Ooh.
I'm just drinking Jim Beam on ice because I forgot I didn't have anything, and I had to rush over to the corner store, get one of those half pints, and get some Jimbo. They don't have as big of a selection of the smaller bottles, but that's fine.
Jimbo
on ice,
white label Jimbo.
Yeah, just regular. It tastes kind of, to me now, it kind of tastes like a little spicy Kool-Aid or something.
Does it have there's I've mentioned this before, I'm sure, but there's a whiskey reviewer who claims he picks up fruit punch from a lot of the Jim Beam variants.
Oh, stop saying variant.
And ever since I know it's suggestibility, but I swear he's right about it. There's some kind of fruit punch smell going on, or maybe it's in the flavor actually. Like
even after you said that, I still don't. So, but that's
good, good, because you don't want to have that.
Teach their own. It does. I don't know. It's kind of, when I came out of the liquor store, I got this huge whiff of a spliff or something. Somebody was.
What's a spliff?
I got like a contact high.
Spliff is like marijuana.
John did not grow up watching Cheech and Chong.
Right?
Okay. Well, you're soaking in it. No.
I did put CBGBs.
Yeah.
I like the CBGB oil I put on my, I got a CBGB cream. It's like you get the talking heads or Blondie or I don't know.
Speaking of marijuana, I'm embarrassed because I was listening to the last episode, I'm talking about the reunion episode.
Oh.
So the penultimate
69.
episode. Number 69. And I think I was halfway through the episode before I realized that it was David Dirksen and not David Daniels who was on the podcast.
David. The other David D has not been a guest yet.
No, I don't know. I think he would.
Yeah.
No, they're totally different David D's.
On the list, I mean.
I knew that, but I still was confused.
I'm always confused.
Well, I'm laughing like Greg K tonight.
Okay, so I'm drinking.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking all the things.
Another appropriate liquor for tonight's subject. Keeper's Heart Irish and American whiskey. Irish. I had to find something Irish, and I had one shot of this stuff left in a bottle. The only Irish thing I had in the house.
Is that the whiskey that's the house thing at the place we went, O'Shaughnessy's
O'Shaughnessy's in north or southeast Minneapolis.
Oh, our waiter was really, really
which we visited lately.
Knowledgeable.
No, I thought you were going to say hi. I thought you would say really hi.
No, he was definitely a whiskey geek.
You can't fling a cat around here without
everybody's
hitting
high.
Distillery.
Oh no! I thought.
Okay. I thought you were going to say. You know what I've realized? You guys have you developed such a patter between the two of you that you can fill airtime very well without a third person, and so whenever I feel like
edited, Rob. So.
Barely. But I mean,
that was a comment. Wow. It's so long.
Anywho, I noticed that like you've developed that, and it's that way. It's great, but it also means that a third person, I feel like I'm interrupting this very serene kind of back and forth. This sort of.
No, we just have to find a different pattern. We'll get it.
We'll get it down.
Yeah, we'll
get it down.
We'll get it down.
So tonight's we have a subject, although we can talk about other things, but this is our closest thing we're doing to a Christmas/holiday special this year.
Yeah, it'll be a Happy New Year episode by the time it comes out.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think the Thanksgiving episode is out yet.
This is more like a Valentine's Day special now.
So, haha. The people should be used to that by now, but it's been commented before that Phil has never seen the holiday classic It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
which I'm sure he's probably not alone out there. And depending on your age, maybe it's common. But this was a good excuse to pressure Phil into finally watching
I
it.
finally said, okay, I'm going to watch it.
And
So before
did.
and you did, but before we jump into that, can I ask you, Phil, as I interrupt your patter,
Yes.
how did you resist / avoid watching the movie all these years? Did you
I had other things going on.
intentionally, you had a life, is what you're saying.
Not a wonderful life.
No, it definitely wasn't a wonderful one. It was a life.
You weren't. It wasn't introduced at an early age like Rob and me.
Like Taco John's. No, I don't. I know it was on, and in fact, one channel I think at some point. So I probably saw little bits of it, but one channel in the olden days would play it like all day long. Wasn't it one of the Turner ones or something?
No, that's A Christmas Story. You're thinking?
No,
of.
yeah, but there was another station I seem to recall would play "It's a Wonderful Life" all day.
That anybody played it all day long.
Could be wrong.
Are we going to get into the reason? One of the reasons why it's become such a classic.
Well, we should have some background to it. I mean, it's like the 75th anniversary or some crap.
Phil, maybe you could explain why. It's easy to see why if your parents didn't watch it every year at home or something, whatever reason, that at some point you just say, why would I want to watch this?
Well,
and then you tend to avoid things that are super well known.
I do. Everyone else saw it, so I was like, everyone else was watching it, so I wasn't going to. It's contradictory. I don't know. I have a hard time explaining this kind of thing, I think, to y'all. I think you're not going to like to hear this, but Jimmy Stewart's voice in movies can sometimes annoy me. I'm just going to say that. I'm sorry, but sometimes he gets into that. It's just too much.
Phil, it's okay. You're not offending me at all.
Okay, well, I didn't think I would offend you.
I'm offended!
Oh, Mr. Potter, I'd like a prostate exam. No, but...
I'm going to run for the Senate.
I've got a second prostate.
Well, that devolved quickly.
It's terrible. That's a terrible Mr.
No, Phil, senator. Really, it's okay. My wife finds Jimmy Stewart very irritating too.
I have to say though that this movie was not that wasn't a problem. This one,
really?
No. His voice. He didn't get into all that so much. It wasn't like he had a fake stutter or something. It was more straightforward, I thought. I don't know.
Jimmy Stewart as an actor, as much as I enjoy him at times, had this reputation of he had like an acting bag of tricks or mannerisms that he would use that kind of wore out their welcome. And I think it got worse in his later movies.
Which I probably was more familiar with.
Things like that. But sometimes it's really interesting when he does not do that.
Yeah.
And that's look at something like the Hitchcock films, things like that.
Right. I loved him in those when I went through my Hitchcock phase. But this was different too than that. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there. Did that answer the question? No.
And Rob, you were probably going to get into the fact that one of the reasons why the film got so popular is that it was made. This is where I ramble on about the history of the cinema, but Frank Capra, who I've talked about because I read a biography of his,
and at that time we talked about this movie.
Yeah, we probably did, but this was his first film after World War II, when he and a couple of other directors formed an independent movie studio, basically. So they wouldn't be under the thumb of one of the big moguls at the time. And this was his big movie at that time. And years later, the rights to it basically fell into the public domain. So that means
accidentally.
Yep.
So,
yeah, very much so. I think, and nobody gave a shit about it for, there was a couple of decades in there when it
was
fell
kind of a
out
bomb when it first came out, I think.
Yeah, it did not make a lot of money, and he didn't have another big film after that. It was kind of it was basically his swan song as far as a good movie goes. But as soon as it fell into the public domain, which I think was in the 1960s, TV stations needed, they wanted free stuff to put on the air, so they started running it, and everybody loved it. And it just became this thing everybody watched every year. And then at some point, I believe what happened was it got recopyrighted because it was based on a story on a greeting card, is what I understand. Like a really short story. That the state of the person who wrote that claimed copyright over the thing, and it's very much under copyright again.
And then it went to the Hallmark Channel.
Just about.
No, so
yeah,
Rob, what? Or you couldn't say what you were going to say, but
it was
one
on
of my
TV
questions
all
is,
the time. Though it really was soaking in if you grew up at a certain time, it was on all the time every year.
I think your memory, Phil, of it being broadcast, back to back all day long may have been true at some point. Where it was like on Christmas Day, who knows?
Well, what did your, so I've gathered that your family, this was a really fond movie for all of your family, I believe. So I was just kind of curious about
our dad really liked it. And we watched it almost every year, I think.
Yeah.
Is that right, Rob?
Yeah. Well, I think I remember the first time I watched it. So I was lying on the living room carpet, because that's what we had to do when we watched TV as a family.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So we had this,
Us too.
How big was the TV, John?
19 inches,
19-inch TV. And
he remembers.
I'm lying on the carpet, craning my head up and watching it. And I do remember, I think my first reaction to the movie was that I was old enough to definitely identify with George Bailey's aspirations to get out of Bedford Falls, right, and to travel and see the world and be cosmopolitan, sure. And I really identified with it. And so as the movie progressed and I saw what happened, I was resisting until the end, and then I thought, okay, this is a decent way for this to end. It's like his life was not wasted because he didn't do those things that he wanted to do, that I wanted to do. And so I thought it was okay. But I think, as I've watched it over the years, I think the message is, at first, I thought, this is a good message. And then I kind of thought, well, there's more darkness and ambiguity here.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is genuinely it's a dilemma, right? Which way you come out on the choices that he makes in his life is not, I don't necessarily think that there is a right answer, like if he decided to say farewell to Bedford Falls, and just say, screw you guys, I'm getting out of here and go and build things and,
And Rob, that becomes, that's one of the things that I still find rewarding about the film.
Yeah.
That I still like to. In fact, I watched it I finished it today actually for this, even though I've seen it a million times. But I still find rewarding about it is because of the way it is more complex, and a lot of there's a lot of interesting ways you can read the movie, which I'll get into a little bit more. But the choices that George Bailey has to make are not cut and dried necessarily. Even when Mr. Potter offers him this dream job midway through the film,
that was a good scene.
It's great because and then of course it just the way it's tightly written that way that he blows up at Potter, and it's very funny. And that goes for you too. Things like that. And storms out, and then he goes home and his wife is pregnant right after Potter, it predicted like, well, if a child comes along and you won't even be able to
you
save
won't
any
be able
money.
to save that $10.
It's just lined up perfectly like that, and he's just, of course, it's replaying over in his head. It's really, really well done that way.
But really, I mean, all of us have had. I guess when I was watching it, it made me. I don't live in the past, and I try not to live in that should have done, would have done kind of thinking, because that's not productive. But all of us have made choices, in our lives, and you can't help but think sometimes, what if I would have done this instead? Because you can kind of see, it's like a choose your own adventure book, but I mean, it's life. But I'm not going to try to get too philosophical here. But I mean, any of us, all of us have made these choices as we become adults and get older and older and older, and goddamn old, and my knees are hurting. But anyway, maybe my knees wouldn't hurt if I would have made a different choice back then, and I wouldn't have two prostates.
You, brother.
No, but I don't know. It really makes you think. And actually, my wife Jody watched it with me last night, and she had only probably seen bits of it too. Okay. Somehow, both of us were sheltered or from the movie. Oh, but it really I have to say, I'll just say in a nutshell, it was impactful, and it was it makes you think. It's kind of heavy. I mean, but the one thing that stood out is with this wishes thing. You make a wish. He made a wish that this and that would happen, but his the gal, I can't remember the character's name.
Mary.
How could I forget that?
Connor Reed's character, yes, yeah.
So basically, she made a wish, and her wish came true, and he wasn't able to go out and see the world. That's what the movie's really about. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it is, right? I think I remember thinking that as a kid, like, well, why does her wish get to come true, but his wishes don't?
Yeah. You could read it as like, he settled, she did not.
Well, she probably did too, but
okay, we'll get into the the other part, other Mary Hatch stuff.
No, there are a lot of there's more to unpack in this movie than I was expecting, but
there's a lot to unpack,
and we won't probably be able to get to all of it tonight, but it really surprised me. I mean, I get it. I can see why people liked it. It was. I also was surprised that the angel didn't show up until like 2/3 into the movie. I thought that would be like he'd be showing up right away. Like in the modern, or like in most movies at that time or whatever. Like damn Yankees or something. I mean, the whatever, this other catalyst that shows up almost right away. But this is like okay, there's an introduction where they get the exposition out of the way, but I don't know.
That is a really odd, the genre of that sort of, you're right, that sort of story.
Oh God, or whatever, right?
Yeah, is where
and that's, just sorry to interrupt, Rob, but
no, it's okay.
There's a web reviewer who reviews a lot of old movies that I really like his writing, and he refers to this genre, mini genre, as film blanc as opposed to film noir.
Oh,
so okay. That's the basically what it means is that it's any kind of film where there's a heavenly structure or setup or something like that. Again, Heaven Can Wait, Warren Beatty is a great example of that. And,
well, what were you going to say, Rob? You were going to say
even so, even within that genre, the intervention occurs sort of at the, it's the inciting incident of the story is the intervention. And like in Heaven Can Wait, I think he die like really early on, and then he gets to live in the
first 30 seconds.
Or Oh God, I think is another.
John Denver's got his little pacer or whatever, and he's driving around.
Yeah, no. Heaven Can Wait. Warren Beatty's character is killed, but it was a like they pull away his soul too early, and he was supposed to live.
Yeah,
and so they have to put him back. Yeah,
they pulled out too early.
Yeah, exactly. They literally do. And yeah, that's it's kind of a
Heaven could wait, but I couldn't.
Heaven is not infallible, but put it that way. There's a really this guy who mentioned the film Blanc thing I want to just read a tiny bit of this because I think it's really fun.
Well, what's his name? Who's the, we can
his
tell.
Name is Glenn Erickson. He writes this website. I'll put it in the notes, called Cine Savant.
Okay.
And I think he's really good at he has one of the better kind of modern retakes on this movie. But this is it here that I really get a kick out of. Just as an exercise, it would be fun to write an alternate universe fascist version of It's a Wonderful Life, told from Henry Potter's point of view. Potter only wants to bring order and frugality to an impossible mongrelized population, and that upstart pipsqueak Bailey keeps gumming up the works.
Oh.
But the reason I point that out, it's a joke, obviously, but that a lot of the things that Potter says, the critiques, he's right about like why like should basically a savings and loan be giving out mortgages because he says shoots pool with the Bailey with the employee and he can get a mortgage.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he's kind of right, and just like he's kind of right about George in that other scene.
So he sums him up well, but that doesn't mean he's right, I guess.
But he is correct that you know the business dealings are a little bit shaky, and if read from a different point of view, that's another depth that the film has that I really enjoy.
You know, it's I was going to talk a little bit about why I think this film resonates so much with our family. But
right.
I do think there is something, you know, there's a story here also about, you know, small business versus, you know, the era of, you know, mega corporations, and, you know, the Mr. Potter represents the future and the building and loan is the past, right? It's
okay.
The community, you know, members of the community working together, and it's small potatoes, but it makes a big difference. But he's what will happen in the future, right? So it's, you know, and I think that, so the flip side of the Bailey, you know, what's great about it is that giving somebody a chance because, you know, they're a good person, you know, even though they have terrible credit, you know, and flip side of that is
his brains all day.
He sits around his brains all day. And then you have a pivotal character, Uncle Billy. Uncle Billy is terrible. Terrible maker.
He loses $8,000. He's drunk all the time. Yeah, no, Uncle Billy. I mean,
but he's family, right?
As we'll get into the late section, but it's made clear that if it wasn't for George, he would be completely like he's in an insane asylum.
Yeah,
jeez, in that losing his alternate universe.
But his decisions. George Bailey's decisions throughout the movie to side with, you know, these flawed people is eventually leads him into wanting to kill himself. You know, he makes choice after choice after choice, and eventually it catches up with him.
And Rob, also at the end, there's this huge payoff though, which I don't think is realistic. I think we all make these decisions in our lives that we compromise things, you know, and maybe if we're after our death, or, you know, we have some nice things said at our funeral, or maybe before that we get some accolades for the sacrifices we've made. I sound like I'm projecting too much here, but I don't know if that payoff is completely realistic. I interrupted you, John. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to make a little quibble with the Mr. Potter being the future, because and obviously he's the Mr. Scrooge of the story.
Yeah, there's a Christmas Carol parallel going on.
Although he doesn't have any redemption. So that's a little
No.
different. But
and who's that guy that stands behind him all the time? What's that about?
Yeah, that's another question. There's a lot of
It's Satan.
Like that. His weird little manservant guy there.
I think it's a demon.
But the person who's really the future in this is Sam Wainwright, because he forms a plastics thing and makes a fortune as a war profiteer. And he even tries to get George and Mary to throw their money into his company, which,
and they would have done
considering
well
this was right
it.
before the Depression, maybe that wouldn't have been a great idea. I don't know, but apparently he would have been rich. But Sam Wainwright is probably the most future looking.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I saw what Rob was saying too, though. So I'm trying to think.
No. In the broad so
there's
terms,
there's three things. There's all kinds of time things going on here if you think about it. I mean,
well, the whole thing about Frank Capra's movies is, and this is a prime example, is that they're all a little muddled in what they're trying to say, which makes them interesting to watch and talk about. But they really don't have a. They're not 100% sure on what side they're coming down. And the way I'll point this without blathering on all night about it is the fact that his movies tend to be thought of as being very populist. But if you read them closely, they're actually not, because what a lot of them say is that the common people can't be trusted on their own. They need somebody like George Bailey or somebody else in a Mr. Deeds or something like that, one of his other movies, to
the white savior.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a white savior in a racist term, but it's definitely a figure. Something needs to help them out and keep
he was
them
still
from...
white.
They're all white except.
I mean, but notably his most prominent customer, or is Martini, right? The garlic eater.
Yeah.
So it's it's about helping the outsider, the immigrant, right?
The deplorables.
And it is, and that was but it's really that's a theme that comes back a lot, that Capra himself, who had a lot of control over his movies, was very conflicted about, because he came from Italian immigrant family and built, was a self-made, really built his own career in Hollywood, but was always uncomfortable with it and insecure.
So that shows up in the movies.
And that makes it so fascinating, but it's also why It's a Wonderful Life is not as simple. And the fact and the whole, If I'd Never Been Born section, the dark part is a prime example of that, because society has gone to shit without this one person there.
It's like an alternate reality thing.
So this is where, there was a phase in the life of this, sort of the afterlife of this movie, right, where there was the backlash, which is that people started to say, hey, you know what, Pottersville is actually, it has this vibrant nightlife, there's jazz.
I mean,
strip clubs.
Okay. And so
gambling.
Said that, the two bars, there's Nick's and Martini's. And I'd rather hang out at Nick's.
Yeah,
because it's it's got Sheldon Leonard at the bar. He's great. He's really funny, and it's
asshole.
got that guy playing boogie woogie piano there, and it's great. And at Martini's, it's what are they drinking there? Maybe some shitty wine, and and you've got the woman from Snow White singing in the background, which I just learned recently. The Snow White.
The music at Nick's is better. We'll give you that.
Did you guys know that there's this little song with this ultra high soprano singing in the background at Martini's bar?
Yes.
And that's the same.
And
she sang the Snow White I'm Wishing song.
Oh, Jesus.
From the Walt Disney movie.
And and that Making a Wish thing, he went 3 times to that machine at the drugstore.
I wish I had $1 million.
Make a wish. That's my
hot dog.
$1,000,000.
Yeah. But I would rather hang out at Nick's bar.
Oh, I don't know. It was kind of rough, John. I've been to some of these bars.
But he drinks double bourbon.
Double bourbon. Say, out you two pixies go.
Out the door, through the window.
I'll have some mulled wine, please.
You pixies.
Yeah, so there's
there's so many great lines in that movie. And the other thing I'll semi quote from this reviewer about some of the side characters, or if you spend enough time thinking about them. So, like, what is the sordid truth behind poor Violet Bick's Saturday nights? What's going on with her? Okay. Did Uncle Billy's transgressions drive his brother Peter to an early death? And what exactly did Miss Davis need with $17.30?
She was very exact with her
it
grocery
also
bill.
calls out the way that late in the when George goes home and smashes up his house, and he tells off the teacher and is really really an asshole.
Yeah,
that he totally deserved to get punched.
Okay, but here's the thing with that scene, right? So the guy, the husband of the teacher, after he's like, my wife cried for an hour, so after that I went to a bar.
Exactly, because that's what men did. You know, they were like,
okay, and I'm sorry
as a reward for consoling his wife, he gets to go to the bar.
This guy imagines the home life of Mr. and Mrs. Welch, the teacher, you know, and that, like, you know, that about after, like this is just out of this review I was reading again, like about how they have no kids. Some angry parent called up and made his wife cry and all that stuff, and they're trying to have a Christmas Eve, and Mr. Welch stomps out to get drunk. It sounds like something out of James Joyce.
Except without the shit love.
I find that really funny.
All right. I need to get some more ice, so I'm going to be right back.
I'm going to get a double bourbon then. So
a double bourbon.
But aside from the socialist propaganda, I do want to know more about why your family was so drawn to this movie.
Yes, we'll talk about that. We'll be right back. Is there anybody out there? Hi, Phil.
Rob, you have a choice to make. I'm going to tell you a story about what would happen if Rob Key wasn't born. Well, millions have lost.
Did you already go to the bathroom?
Very sad.
Who?
Did you already take a break?
I had to check my prostate.
Okay.
I went to get ice. I didn't use the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
Taking a break.
Welcome back to Hour 4 of Time to Lean.
Talking about a 2-hour movie.
Than the film.
All right, Rob.
There's a lot of theories about this movie because it supposedly had a really difficult post-production that they couldn't quite get it right, and there's some evidence that originally it did not play as a flashback structure like it does now. That it was in straight chronological order, so it doesn't start out with the heavenly people intervening. You know,
which I think the only way that it does, the late intervention does work, is because you have that frame, right? Mm-hmm. So it's all about Clarence being prepared to help George, and
it's actually a really clever way to build that in, and it was probably something they could easily just accomplish with some effects and voiceovers. And one of the things that I before we get to the family connection is how much I just love Lionel Barrymore as Mr. Potter in this. He really he's so good in it.
He's almost a Muppet.
Well, and the thing is, in real life, he was he couldn't walk. He wasn't just playing a cranky old guy in a wheelchair. No, he had a lot of health problems late in his career, and
so he wasn't. But he couldn't walk his entire career, or just later in his career?
No, later on he developed some problems, and there are some movies where he doesn't. He kind of stands and doesn't move around much because it was so painful for him. Mm-hmm. Things like that, and this was pretty late in Lionel Barrymore's career, and he's obviously wheelchair bound. and probably was. And of course, it makes the character, with the weird manservant and that crazy ass wheelchair he gets pushed around, all that much better. But no, that was real.
Let's make a movie from the viewpoint of the manservant. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So speaking of servants, that was one thing. At the beginning of the movie, they were very close to their servant, the family, and at one point, the youngest, or housekeeper, and the youngest son kind of chases her in the kitchen, and I think he spanks her.
Well, we don't know. Yeah. When
I don't know.
She's the one
was a little too familiar.
The immortal line. That's why all kids should be girls. And
they all will be eventually.
Well, if they were, then there wouldn't be any. Oh, never mind.
There's a lot of good lines in there, and there's one line that
it is so quotable. Yes.
There's one line though that you both had referenced, and I didn't associate. I just thought it was funny. I didn't know where it came from, and I can't remember it now. I should have written it down, but
the one we repeat the most is probably so the first. I would say, "Merry Christmas, Mr. Potter," and Rob would say, "Happy New Year to you in jail."
I think, maybe that was it.
That's probably the one I would quote the most.
All right, why was it again? Other than the socialist propaganda, why was this movie? Why did this movie connect to your family so much? Other than your dad liked it and it was something you watched every year, what do you think were some other things? Rob?
So I think the building and loan those are the arts organizations that, and public education that our family devoted itself to, which were not lucrative, even though some people claimed at one point that they were lucrative during the
and great insurance
troubles. But so it it's like this investment in education, the arts in a community where it's not valued as much as it should be valued. Sorry, Rapid City. And instead you just do it out of love, for your, because you love it, but also because you think it's important. And so, so that to me, I think is why it has special resonance, although it clearly has resonance to many people. So it's not just our family, but I think there is a sense that people feel like they're the little guys, or little, they're the ones who are building alone in a world of Mr. Potters. And
and I think our parents would probably say, and we picked up on this, is that it did resonate, but also it's something we could laugh at too, in a way that at the same time.
It's something. It's rare. Just saying, for my family, it's rare when we can find something that all four of us will watch.
Well,
just in
the
general,
old days,
you didn't have a choice. It was only 3.5 channels.
It was like, was that or Holiday Inn?
So did your family every year gather around and watch this thing? Or you kind of would people would go in and out, I suppose.
There was a period of time where we did. After at some point some of us broke off and didn't watch it.
I think it was relatively later on that we started watching this, because I do remember the first time that I saw it with the family, just like I remember the first time we watched Casablanca on New Year's Eve.
That was another tradition. Yeah.
And so I was old enough, and like I said, I was old enough to identify with the aspirations of George Bailey, so I couldn't have been that young. And
so you were wise beyond your years.
Well, it was so I don't know that it was a long period of time that we actually watched it every year as a family, but it certainly became like, it's a funny movie. The characters are all very memorable, and the performances are great. I think almost across the board.
They really hold up. I mean, you can. Wow. There are so many things you can pick apart in it, And the one thing that always that my wife was talking about how really gets her is the part where what happens to Mary Bailey if George has been born, and
Oh
she's like
yeah.
this horrible, I don't know,
Spinster.
spinster. Yeah, she's an old maid.
A librarian.
and like or a lesbian or something.
Oh, she was a thespian?
Yeah, that's right. She's
So
not
it's
very theatrical.
the part that doesn't age well about this movie for me is the moralizing, and this gets back to Pottersville versus Bedford Falls, where is Bedford Falls a better place? Well, in a lot of ways it is, but is it a better place because it's people stick to innocent things, innocent activities, or it's repressed,
that's part of
or whatever.
the muddled philosophies of Capra, I think, is the best example. And there's all these. The funny thing that about Capra was that the post World War II movement toward more edgy movies and things like that really bothered him. He hated it, and yet this part of It's a Wonderful Life is very, very dark. There's some really grim things in there. I mean, not just in the subject where horrible things have happened, like an entire troop transport of soldiers is killed because his brother wasn't there. All that stuff. I mean, just the way it's shot, it's very, very dark looking, and the music changes, and I mean, it's really interesting to me that how dreary it all is, and kind of despondent.
Well, I think that's why you couldn't sustain that through the whole movie without making it the whole movie dark, right? I mean, it's which is why it has to be such a short. I think it's only like 20 minutes or so that he's sees this alternative reality, right?
Yeah,
and
and I think it's also so extreme that you have to conclude that it's just this very, very, very particular thing that because it doesn't all make sense if you think about it, but it's very much this point where the one part that really is very famous, that it's quite a ways in. I think he just realizes how awful things are, and he kind of stumbles into the camera and stares at it. There's this really great shot, and apparently Spielberg, basically used it in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I remember that scene now that you mentioned it.
It's so funny, but he totally it was a homage to that scene, but Jimmy Stewart, just like his eyes are really wide and everything's.
You're right.
So is that when he finds Harry's grave?
I think it's after he talks to like he learns that Uncle Billy is in an insane asylum, and then he his mom doesn't know him and stuff, and he kind of stumbles away from the house.
Well, when your mom doesn't know you, I mean, come on.
Yeah, and of course that's the ultimate, like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
You have to say that little 20 minutes or whatever was quite a mind fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a Twilight Zone episode.
Exactly.
Almost.
Yes, it's very Serling-esque.
No, very.
The other thing I was thinking of is that George Bailey doesn't serve in the war, right? He doesn't see combat because it's his ear, and his brother becomes a war hero. But the movie takes pains to point out that really George is the one who saved all of those guys. The George is a war hero indirectly,
Oh, right.
And
I didn't think of that.
There's a message there, I think, for everybody who didn't actually fight in the war, but did other things that say, hey, you mattered. And I wonder, I don't know how much of that is conscious or how much of it is Capra himself that, saying, hey, what I did matters.
And this, Rob, I think you picked up on something that's spot on
and profound.
Is that, and again, I read this book called Five Came Back, which is about Capra and these other directors who went into World War II to make documentary and propaganda movies for the government.
Mickey Mouse movies.
Unfortunately, not Mickey Mouse. Although Dr. Seuss did work on them too. But
I'm not gonna say it this time. We're gonna get those krauts.
There you go. But Capra didn't even get sent really much overseas. He kind of sat at a desk in Washington and court. He was like a manager, and he
was in the swamps. He didn't need to go overseas.
Right, the swamps, and he always was. I think had a complex about that, and that I think, Rob, that's where that comes from.
Oh, wow!
If you ask me, because remember, this is just a few years after the war.
Yep.
I would think there was a remorse or whatever for people that couldn't go over to serve, because there was so much hype and propaganda about serving your country and that kind of thing.
And
there is that whole segment.
Frank Capra himself tried to enlist in World War I and was rejected. Or couldn't serve because he
had
was
2
not
prostates.
a citizen.
He wasn't.
He did have 2 prostates. But no, he was not a citizen legally. He thought he was, but something wasn't right when his family came over from Italy.
Oh,
so yeah, he was. There's a lot of complicated psychology there.
There's also I guess getting back to the outsider status of the Irish, which now is just kind of funny, right? But at the time when he was growing up, or when he, it was a real thing. Like the Irish,
they were the Mexicans.
They weren't quite white, right? Yeah. So
definitely, and the Italians. I mean, Mr. Martini is. I mean, Potter calls them a bunch of garlic eaters.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We always have to have somebody to point a finger at. Our patter wasn't right there, Rob.
Yeah, that was
really
clunky. Make a call out for all the character actors in this movie.
Oh,
that are so good. I mean, Thomas Mitchell, of course, Uncle Billy. He was in a lot of movies in the 30s and 40s, and I mean, he kind of played the same thing, but he's great.
In every movie, he lost $8,000 because he accidentally put it in a newspaper.
Drunk uncle. Yeah, that's right.
How often?
Just so
how
we can
often
tell
do
off
you do
Mr.
that?
Potter.
Look. I have attention deficit, so I thought that because remember it was an old thing. You'd tie a string around your finger to try to remember something, but you had to remember what finger. I never did that, but I could kind of relate.
He even missed George's wedding. I mean, that's like wow. And there's also Ward Bond, who played a lot of bad guys in westerns. He plays Bert the cop, and another person who is a woman named Gloria Graham, who is in a lot of famous film noir movies. In just a few years after this, plays Violet.
Is she the kind of hottie or whatever?
Yeah, she was the one who always kind of needed some help and got out of town finally. And
what's her line when she came back though? But what was the line she had about men? The blonde gal, right? The blonde gal.
Yeah. She
has a good line about men, but I can't remember what it is. I'll Google it while you talk.
Yep.
Well, the child version of her. They're sitting there on the 2 girls on the stool, and Mary said, "Well, you like every boy." And she goes, "Well, what's wrong with that?"
Oh, okay, maybe that was it. And she's like 7.
Yeah, I know. And the young Mary Hatch is going to love George till the day she dies. At that age.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's...
all the ladies, they get these ideas in their head.
And speaking of the drugstore, there's Mr. Gower, who's played by H.B. Warner.
Oh, holy shit. That was really something, that scene.
Yeah.
He like hit him and...
In that other scene where he's a panhandler and comes in.
He's at Nick's.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really striking.
Holy shit. Yeah, no. That was...
And he also played the head llama in Frank Capra's Lost Horizon.
The Dalai Lama?
The head llama.
The head llama.
I'm
No,
just
not
a
the
head
dog.
llama.
This guy was white. Come on. He was like Belgium or something like that.
The Great White Savior, the Dalai Lama.
That's another fascinating Capra movie.
So
but.
Frank Capra had his ensemble, right? He
yeah, Thomas Mitchell was in a bunch of his movies, and
all those directors did.
And James Stewart did. You Can't Take
Not
It
Jimmy
With You.
Stewart, James Stewart.
Well, he's
James Stewart. You Can't Take It With You. So I was thinking about that movie compared to this one, and
is that a Frank Capra movie?
Yeah.
I
mean, it's based on a play, but
okay, yeah. Well, I was in. That was the first play I was in. But what?
And I know you read it, so this is going to sound insulting, but
no.
I found the characters in that You Can't Take It With You annoyingly eccentric, like not like tediously eccentric.
Actually, it's really.
I want to hang out with them.
Yeah.
I never figured that. I never figured that out. I was in the play and we had some fun, but it's like I'm gonna go explode some firecrackers.
Yeah. I mean, the best way to sum up that play or movie is a white eccentric privilege.
Yeah,
Like, well, I'm rich and live in a mansion, and I'm gonna be kooky.
Right.
Well, but in England, that it's okay to be eccentric. Well, but they're not rich, though.
Well, that's why we had a revolution. That's right. So we could get rid of the eccentrics.
It's okay to be eccentric if you're rich.
Yeah. So, Phil, did Jody like the movie? What did she think of it?
What's that? Jody?
Did Jody like it?
I think some of the themes resonated with her and kind of hit her a little bit more than she was expecting. And I think anyone that's grown up in a kind of a, and myself included, kind of a, okay, so the scene with he's having that breakdown and he kind of attacks his family.
Yeah, like break stuff in the living room. Yeah.
And I'm not saying this ever happened in any of our lives exactly to that. Well, whatever. But I think for people that have had families that have had parents who are supposed to be the adults and in charge of the situation and stuff like that when you're a little kid, and they might have some mental health issues. I think that it was resolved really quickly in that movie. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not downplaying that at all, and I shouldn't, because some of these things go on for years in some families."
Yeah, that scene is hard to watch, isn't it? Though, even no matter what your background is.
Right. That's a really difficult 5 minutes, is all I'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah. She actually, Donna Reed actually said, "Why are you torturing the children?"
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. And yes, it is tied up too neatly.
Right.
Well, and I think, it felt. It's hard to see, and I'm not, Phil, I'm not trying to speak to your situation or Jody's or anybody's.
Right. Sure.
But it's hard when it's someone you love, who's behaving that way, and you feel like I kind of lost my train of thought.
But no, your foundation, your foundation is disrupted, right? Because up to that point, the kids had this kind of thing. This is what to expect, and then all of a sudden, it's not that. The foundation is gone, and the kids have to kind of readjust. And I don't know. That's a whole different movie in this 5 minutes, but I don't know. It was interesting, and
that is a scene though we like to quote in my family is, "Why did we have to have all these kids?"
I think like it because it's an uncomfortable scene. I think finding the humor in it. I mean, I think it is kind of funny, you know, when he says that, and but it's also
very dark.
It's very dark, and you know, he doesn't feel like he can confide in his partner. You know, is the other thing. Like he completely isolates himself.
Well, okay. So that's
and that's a flaw in the character if you look at it that way.
But how many men at that time compartmentalize themselves in a situation? I was trying to think of this where you're the sole the sole breadwinner because of whatever society.
He's the whole town's breadwinner.
Well, right. Oh, okay. That's a different level.
No.
That's a lot of
the
pressure.
Time.
Yeah.
It's when Potter offers him the job and he doesn't even tell her about it. Yeah. Also, yeah, it's just another version.
Well, he was distracted because she was having a baby.
Yeah.
Now,
no, I think that's it's not good, right? I mean, in real life, you know, that breaks people. I mean, to get back to
and you don't have an angel showing up when you get to the bridge.
Yeah.
Well, that gets back to the whole why is George singled out for this divine intervention?
Well, he's getting, there's a lot of prayers for him. So if you take that literally, it could be off-putting. You know, it's like demoralizing again. It's like, well, if we pray enough, then we'll get an intervention from God. You know, and geez, that's the last thing that I want to message that I want to absorb right now. You know, in the middle of this crap.
Well, that's what they were like. Wow, we're getting a lot of flack over this. We got to do something. It's like a customer service phone intake angle.
Or they all went on Twitter and
oh geez, we got to block that guy.
Yeah,
that's really funny.
But I mean,
but Phil, to your point, I do like the fact though that he's such a flawed character in a way. That is not he's not this pure character. But I mean, there's not a lot of subtlety in this, but
you know, I'm just thinking the banister. What is that? The ball at the banister at the staircase.
That's always loose. Yeah.
How many times did that show up? Was that 3 times? Because in children's theater they said everything Dr. Johnson would say in my theater days, everything. You have to do everything 3 times, whatever. I'm totally incorrectly paraphrasing him, but
would you call that Chekhov's banister? You know what I mean?
Like Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
No, I think that is a pretty.
Because the wish thing with 3 times, wasn't it? Wasn't the banister 3 times?
Well, there's something to that. In more than just children's theater. I think it goes. It's a widely held belief that there has to be 3.
Things happen in 3s.
That's when the audience gets it. It's the 3rd time they see the pattern.
Now, I think I get it at the first time, but whatever. But that banister, what did that represent? The house was falling apart, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
or
what do you think? Like,
somebody else go.
Well, it doesn't. It doesn't work. It's
there's something always wrong with this house that will never be fixed, no matter how much they try to renovate it.
Just like his life will never be.
Yeah,
perfect.
There's always another crisis.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Physical manifestation.
And the 3rd time he kisses the damn thing.
Yeah.
Or the 4th time.
And that calls to mind the very famous, or maybe it's not famous. I don't know. I always remember it. The SNL skit that makes fun of this. Do you guys know the one?
Yes, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, where they reenact the very last scene of the movie, and is it Dana Carvey who's in it.
Well, he would impersonate Jimmy Stewart, sure.
But Jimmy Stewart, and then Mr. Potter shows up, and he goes, "You're not even a cripple."
They figure out that Potter stole the money, and so they go and beat him up.
Yeah, they kick his ass.
What a fucking asshole, though. He took that money.
Yeah, he is definitely bad.
He gets no comeuppance either. That's the thing.
No,
he's a villain who
he needs a guardian angel to show him something.
Yeah. He's got that manservant behind him.
Yeah,
did the manservant have any lines?
I don't think
so.
No,
he's silent. Yeah.
Well, there's the who's the guy who works for Potter who comes to him and says
the no skin off my nose.
No skin off my. So
he's been in other stuff too.
I mean, that speech is so memorable because John used to say that you adopted that phrase. No skin off my nose.
This bright young man is going to be asking George Bailey for a job. Yeah. There's so many little there are so many small scenes that work so well in that.
This movie is definitely worth watching more than once, and I understand.
I still,
folks.
I watched it again recently, and I think I still picked up a couple of little things that, like, oh yeah, I never noticed that before.
So this is a really minor thing, but so I was listening to a podcast, where they were talking about this movie, and someone pointed out that there actually are people of color who appear in the scenes in Bedford Falls.
Yeah.
You've noticed this.
You mean besides the housekeeper?
Besides the housekeeper, right.
And the piano player.
Well, yeah, and the piano player's in Pottersville anyway, right?
Yeah. It's the dark.
It's interesting.
Is that because it was taken over by minorities?
Well, it was.
Well, you don't see any other ones though.
Yeah, so there.
No, it's supposed to be this like again jazz.
No, but it's interesting because it's Bedford Falls. I mean, I guess they say it's based on upstate New York, and I don't know how racially diverse. I suppose any decent sized city would have some racial minority population. So it's not like.
But what percentage of those people were working as dishwashers or whatever?
Yeah, well, sure, yeah, or maids or housekeepers. Yeah. Anyway, I was interrupting a different.
No, keep going.
No, I don't know what that was.
No.
Yeah, I mean, this movie it's surprisingly rich and surprisingly weird, and for its time, even kind of, I guess maybe you'd say it in some ways is a noir movie. Like it has. I guess it's like a testing sort of morality. I guess that's where I think. Yeah, so like a blanc. What do they call it? Film blanc.
Yeah.
So it's like a noir, but in that he's tested over and over again. He's tempted, which is what happens in noir films, except in noir they succumb,
and they're usually doomed. Yeah, they're fatalistic.
So in Blanc, he never succumbs, even though it might not have been the best decision for him.
By its definition, it's divine intervention, right?
Well, and he's also tested and doesn't, and then finally he reaches the end of his rope, is what he says, and he's going to kill himself, which is very noir, right? And then there's
worth more dead than alive.
Yeah. So
Death
that's
of
like
a salesman.
Is that similar to a line in Death of a Salesman?
I think he says the same thing.
Does he?
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
That's a reference, maybe, huh? I'll also point out the side thing is that how good, and I didn't realize this before, but one of the award nominations this movie got was its special effects, and the one that's most impressive is all the how good the snow looks.
It was all the
streets and whatever they were, that stuff they were using, but it looks actually really good.
So they got,
especially for the time.
So they got an award an Academy Award because of their snow effects,
or at least a nomination. Yeah.
it wasn't just because of snow.
They came up with some new technique for doing fake snow, because apparently it was shot in July and it was 100 degrees out.
Really? Wow.
That's what I was just reading. Yeah.
No, that's definitely a winter movie. You would never know that was in July.
And the only thing that you ever, and I still see this whenever there's a Hallmark movie on or something like that, then they're all filmed in Canada or something. It is there. You can never see their breath when they're outside and they're wearing coats and all that stuff.
Oh no, yeah, no. There was a scene where they were about ready to kiss or trying not to kiss or whatever the hell was going on.
Yeah,
and you could see their breath. You don't see actors' breaths in movies usually.
No, definitely not. That was.
I appreciated that,
but the snow looks really good though. It's especially in the black and white photography, and the blowing snow looks pretty realistic. And
you got to see the colorized version.
The snow is blowing.
We're gonna have rain tomorrow, John.
Oh, or thunderstorms.
It's like December 15th tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have it's gonna be 50 and heavy rains and very windy. How wonderful. I'm so excited about climate change.
It reminds me that there was an editorial in the Rapid City Journal many years ago about how global warming was actually a good thing because it meant that the weather was going to be pleasant more often.
No, okay.
Oh, those are great.
Yeah, so, I mean, that was, not to rip on the poor Rapid City Journal, but
the urinal.
That was well before its decline.
But also because in keeping with this movie, we couldn't wait to get the hell out of that place. But whatever. So
yeah, well, that's a kind of universal thing, isn't it? Though
you want to get out of the nest.
Phil, I'm really glad you liked it. I think, did you?
No, yeah,
he's not going to admit that.
No, I did. I did. No, I did.
It's not as good as The Fly 2.
Don't expect too much.
Listen, this movie was way more than I was expecting. It had a lot going on. Like I said, had a lot to unpack, but I wasn't. Neither Jody and I were expecting that, really.
John, I think that if you had some night about 4 a.m, if you had just put it on while we were all hanging out at our house, growing, like in high school or something.
Yeah,
Phil would have watched
Marks for this movie.
No,
yeah.
Well, yeah, Phil would have watched it. Lee would have fallen asleep. He's the one person I know that fell asleep in duck soup or whatever it was.
Oh, how can you fall asleep in duck soup?
Sorry. No, it's all about timing, though, isn't it?
Timing to
lean.
Time to lean. Welcome to hour 5 of Time to Lean.
Sponsored by Squarespace. Promo
code by Ma Rainey's Happy Bottoms.
Promo code Gower.
Promo code
888
Bailey
675-309. Would you like 20% off Time to Lean Gold?
Time to Lean coin.
No, Time to Lean.
We have our own cryptocurrency now, Phil.
Time to Lean Plus, I was thinking. Okay.
Oh, yeah, we should have our own streaming service.
Sure, it could have like ESPN.
It's the worst streaming service ever.
Good God.
Wait, John and I could do sports commentary.
Now that's comedy gold. What is he doing with that thing?
Oh, all right. I think
thanks
about
for
it.
letting me interrupt your patter, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
The last time we talked about this movie, the song was "It's a Life," but so we have to come up with something different. We'll figure it out.
Okay,
we will.
God
Guys,
bless America,
it's been something.
God bless you.
Pottersville forever.
And Happy New Year to you in jail. And one last observation is the scene where George and Mary are walking home from the high school dance.
No, he just robes her.
And he just robes her, and she's stuck naked in the hydrangea bushes. And he's like kind of going into this whole, well, I can sell tickets, and
but he was like 50 and he was like in high school.
Well, and he says the police would be on my side.
Yeah, I was wondering about that one. Like,
I know what is he talking about there? Bert the cop, and they're gonna have an orgy or something. Oh,
public nudity citation.
I don't blame you for taking her robe off.
That really got dark.
Yeah.
So,
what's the symbolism of the hydrangeas versus the rose petals in his pocket?
Zuzu's hydrangeas.
Yeah.
So I'll leave you on that note.
Oh no.
I don't know how to stop this thing. What do I do? If we edited out every offensive thing you said, Rob, we'd have no podcast.
And here's the song!
Angel on the bridge will show you things that his wings. He will take you to Pottersville, those without and those with their fill. And nothing there within between. Pottersville forever. It's by numbing at the grindstone when you start to think. Reach for a drink. Day in, day out, it's much the same. Pottersville forever. Dances, romances, there are no answers. No one remembers the questions anyway. You don't toss the dice in this game you play. Pottersville forever. Angel on the bridge will show you things turn its wings. He will take you to Pottersville, those without and those with their fill. Nothing there with in between. Pottersville forever. An autocrat owns a dance hall and the laundromat, and everything in between. What does it mean? Free of choice, you have no voice, but at least your clothes are clean. Pottersville forever.
Don't you understand, George? It's because you were not born.